My younger sister spent an entire summer trying to steal my husband, but she had no idea he was writing me love letters about it the whole time. It started the week Naomi moved in with us. She just finished her freshman year of college, needed a place for the summer while she interned downtown, and I told her our guest room was hers. My husband, Caleb, helped carry her bags upstairs, and I noticed her hold his arm a second too long, laughing at something that wasn't funny. I brushed it off. She was my sister. She was 20. She was just being friendly, but friendly turned into something else fast. Naomi started waking up early, which she never did, just to have coffee with Caleb before he left for work. She'd sit at the kitchen island in these tiny pajama sets, hair perfectly done at 6 a.m., asking him about his day like she was interviewing him for a magazine. She memorized how he took his coffee. Black. 1 sugar. She'd have it waiting on the counter before he even came downstairs, and she'd watch his face when he took the first sip like she was waiting for a grade. She started cooking. Naomi, who once burned instant ramen in my mother's kitchen, was suddenly making Caleb's favorite meals from scratch. She'd text my mom asking for recipes, specifically dishes I used to make when Caleb and I were newlyweds. My mom thought it was sweet, her youngest learning to cook. She didn't know Naomi was plating them on our nice dishes, lighting the dining room candles, and timing everything to be ready exactly when Caleb walked through the door. I'd come home from my shift an hour later to find the kitchen spotless, and Naomi glowing about how Caleb loved her pasta. Then came the physical stuff. She started working out in our living room when Caleb was home. Yoga, stretching, things that required a lot of floor space and very little clothing. She'd ask him to spot her on exercises that don't need spotting. She bought a bikini for our backyard pool that was more string than fabric, and every Saturday she'd be out there with a book she never read, adjusting her sunglasses whenever Caleb came outside to mow the lawn. She started comparing herself to me out loud, telling Caleb she and I had the same smile, same laugh, that people always said she was the younger version of me. That one stung. The worst part was the subtle undermining. She'd mention how tired I looked after work, suggest skincare routines in front of Caleb, point out that I never wore the sundresses I used to. Once, she told Caleb she found an old photo of me from college and said she was so beautiful back then, as if I'd expired. Caleb said nothing, just squeezed my hand under the table. I started wondering if I was imagining things, if maybe I was the jealous older sister making something out of nothing. Then, one night in July, I couldn't sleep. Caleb was already out, and I noticed his phone lighting up on the nightstand. It wasn't a text from Naomi. It was a note app, open to something he'd been writing. I should not have looked, but I did. It was a letter to me, dated that day, and it wasn't the only one. There were dozens, one for almost every day since Naomi moved in. Each one started the same way. Things I love about you today. And each one was a response to something Naomi had done, but flipped. The day she made his favorite pasta, he wrote about the first time I made it in our tiny apartment, how I burned the garlic and we ate it anyway, laughing on the kitchen floor. The day she did yoga in the living room, he wrote about watching me fall asleep reading on the couch, glasses sliding down my nose, and how that was the most beautiful thing he'd ever seen. The day she said I was so beautiful back then, he wrote 3 paragraphs about how I looked that exact morning, hair messy, no makeup, singing off key to the radio while packing my lunch, and how he almost cried because he couldn't believe he got to wake up to that every day. Every single thing Naomi did to pull him toward her had pushed him closer to me. She was performing a version of me she thought he wanted, and all it did was remind him why he loved the original. He never told me because he didn't want me to fight with my sister. He just wrote it down every night, like a diary of falling deeper in love with his own wife. I put the phone down, rolled over, and pressed my face into his shoulder. He stirred and mumbled, "You okay?" I whispered, "I love you." He pulled me closer without opening his eyes and said, "I know, I wrote about it today."